And we are live. Welcome everybody to Mariel Talks Pop. I'm your host, Mariel Visori, and I have with me the amazing songwriter, singer, producer, everything you want, Christian Ingebrigtsen. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Very, very good. Thank you so much. Great to be on your show.
It's so good to finally meet you. I cannot thank you enough for responding my email and telling me that you will be on my show. I was so surprised and shocked, but thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm just excited that you're interested in the Melody Grand Prix over in Mexico. So,
Well, it's not just that. I mean, you have a huge career. I've been following A1 for years, and now your solo career, and now you're into this Melody Grand Prix. I mean, you have a lot to tell us. So, um, let's begin with your A1 beginnings. How did you get into the group? How was the audition process? Tell us about it.
well, it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to tell you the brief version. And so I was studying music at the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts,
Mhm.
and I was contacted by my songwriting teacher who had recommended me to a management in London who were looking for talents to put together a new boy band where they had this vision of a boy band where everyone were musicians and songwriters learning how to dance rather than like some of our peers were models and dancers who learned how to sing. So
Uh-huh.
he looked around at all the performing arts schools, and that's where they found me.
Oh, and then everything started back in '98.
Yeah, actually, I was part of the band in December '97,
Wow.
but then it wasn't until '98 we found Mark and Ben,
Mm-hmm.
and so Paul and I, it's coming up to 25 years since we joined the band, which is crazy.
Can you believe it's been that long? Because sometimes you think the '90s, and I used to think, oh, it's just a couple of years ago, but now you think about the '90s, and it's over 20 years ago.
I know it is crazy how time flies, and I can't believe it's over 20 years since the '90s. So, but that's life, and we're so grateful that we can still do this after all this time, and that we're still, we still have an audience that comes to see us and listens to our music on Spotify, and we're grateful to still do what we love.
Yes, I mean, you guys are still one of the most beloved boy bands from the late '90s, early 2000s, and you guys are still around releasing music. Your latest release was Spiders, am I right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes. And are you planning to release a new album soon?
Yes, we are. So we're in the middle of recording this album. Then, of course, Corona uh, put a stop to us being in the same country for for long enough to
Yeah.
do any recording. But we're gonna now that things are opening up, we're gonna get back in the studio and complete the album, and then hopefully we'll do a lot of touring again.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, I know COVID stopped us all, so
Yeah.
let's hope 2022 is better than 2 years ago when it was all stopped. So definitely. And now about your first album from A1, Here We Go, released in 1999. What can you tell us about the recording process? Your favorite songs, your touring? Tell us about it.
The first album, yeah, I think the process was. It was kind of two things going on at the same time. Now the management wanted us to be songwriters and musicians, but they also had producer teams ready in place in case our songs weren't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were recording in the studio with Steve Mack, who we know from a lot of great hits, but he also did most of the Westlife stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But quite early on, we sat together and we wrote our own songs. Um, and now that I'm a producer and writer for other artists as well, I understand sort of how like if you're a producer, you want to be involved in the writing because that's how you make some money
Mhm.
working with these artists. And so quite early on, we sort of departed a little bit from working. We did a few songs with Steve Mack, but we also started working with other producers who were more interested in working with our songs that we'd written. So we were, and we were writing a lot of stuff, like, and in all kinds of different combinations. Sometimes all four of us, sometimes all four of us with a producer, sometimes three of us, sometimes two of us, individual songs. And then when it got down to recording the album, we had a whole bunch of songs, like dozens and dozens of songs. And when it was time to choose what songs to record, there was a little bit of politics involved, like some of the producers that were on board. We needed to have some of their songs involved, otherwise we would have wasted their time.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it was the songs that we were most excited about that became the singles. And we, one of the guys that we started writing with, who was kind of our guy, was Peter Cunha, who you might remember from a band called D Ream. Had a huge hit called Can Only Get Better. And he
Okay.
was such a great guy, and he would let us sort of do our thing. But he was such a good producer as well, and a good writer that he led us in the direction that was the start. With songs like "Be the First to Believe" and "Summertime of Our Lives," uh, and then with our third single, we were lucky enough to start working with the Metrophonic team, Mark Taylor and Brian Rawling, the team behind some of the biggest hits at that time. Share with Believe,
Mhm.
When the Heartache is Over, Tina Turner. In fact, when we were recording down there, we had to take breaks when Tina Turner went in and did vocals and stuff like that. And we had lunch with Lionel Richie down there. And it was very inspiring, very it was a wonderful time. And that's also when we wrote just on our own. We wrote a song called Every Time, and which was produced down there, and that became our first, I guess, big international hit song.
Yeah.
And we were very excited about Every Time. It became one of those. In fact, I have a great story. Like for us, we wanted it to sound like a big choir. I had this vision for the chorus, and so, but we decided to record it ourselves. So we did the chorus. Like I think there were over 100 tracks in the chorus because we
Okay.
did it like in groups of one and one, groups of four around the mic, and we did different voices so it would sound like a choir. So sometimes we would sing like this, and sometimes we'd sing like that, and we did all the different voices, and so that chorus became huge and epic. But it took all day, and this is how we met. One of my greatest heroes. There was a knock on the door, and someone sticks their head in. Who wrote that song? Who wrote that song? And we're like, it's us. And he's like, I'm sitting downstairs, I'm trying to write a song, and all I can come up with is this great chorus I keep hearing over and over again. What a great chorus. And that was Lionel Richie giving us a great compliment for our song. And one of the proudest moments for me growing up with Lionel Richie and being a big hero of mine.
He's a huge icon everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And what's your favorite song from your first album?
I think it would be Every Time because it's one of those songs that it came so naturally together. Mark and Ben and I were meeting down at Mark's house where he grew up, and I was on my way. I was late, and as I arrived, the other two had already started on a verse and a bridge, and they just needed a chorus. And as I went into the room, I was like, "Hey, I think I might." I had an idea a couple of days ago, and I was listening on my little mini cassette recorder that I had, and it
Mhm.
was it was fate. I mean, that chorus fit like a glove. It was the same key, it was the same tempo, and it was just like, oh, there it is. We wrote the song in less than an hour, and it was such a big hit for us as well around the world. So I got to say that's my favorite.
Okay, every time. And then in 2000, you guys released your second album, The A List, which spawned two number one singles. One that's a cover, Take on Me, and the other one, Same Old Brand New You.
That's correct. Yeah.
How was it for you to have a two number one singles on the UK singles chart?
Yeah, I mean, that was fantastic and a dream come true. I mean, when we started out, I used to think, um, once we had the first top 10 hit, I was so excited. And I would say, no matter what happens now, no one can take away from me the fact that I've written a top 10 hit, and then we had a top five and I was thinking the same thing. And a top three, I was thinking that, and then when we had our first number one, I was like, no one could take away the fact that we achieved a number one hit. And then we wrote Sable Brand New You. Like no one can take away that I've written a number one hit in the UK
Yeah.
charts, and it was such an exciting time. Um, but that was also a time where everything took off in such a way that we didn't really have time to um, sit and think like that anymore. It was always like, how can we make the next one a number one? What happens if the next one's not a number one? And we were always on to the next territory, the next country to promote. And we were so busy that we didn't really have time to take it in properly,
Mhm.
that we were having such a great success until after the whole adventure took a break in 2003, really.
Yeah, and you guys were so popular in Southeast Asia. You guys got to travel to all these countries where unfortunately there was a bad accident in Jakarta with your fans. So sad. And how was it for you going from Norway, well, the UK, and going to Philippines or I don't know other Southeast Asian countries? How was it for you, the experience meeting all those fans?
We used to love, and we still do, we still love going to all these different countries. And to me, there's something really special about going to a country on the other side of the planet, and a whole bunch of people know the melody and the words that started in my little head over here. To me, that's just incredible. And obviously, like you said, um, with the tragedy that happened in Jakarta, that was a tragedy for us in so many ways, because we grow to love our fans and we care about them deeply. And, even though we didn't know the girls personally, we were devastated by what happened, and that really was the start of a long break for us before we finally started recording the third album, and then we started touring again. But we've been back there since, and it's always great to be back in Southeast Asia, and we have such a dedicated bunch of fans, and we just love it there. We love traveling the world with our music. It's what it's our dream, and we're so grateful that we still get to do it.
And you guys are still so loved. I got so much messages now that I was promoting the interview with you. All these girls from Malaysia and Philippines, and they were like writing to me, and I'm like, this is so cool having people from all over the world watching. So this is what makes 2000s so cool, that we have all this technology and we can be in touch. So that's
Yeah,
what's
and it's really saved. I mean, this time in history that we've been through in the last couple of years, um, it's made the world smaller with these this technology that we're StreamYard and Zoom and
there.
Teams or whatever. We can. I've written so many songs with songwriters in so many different countries this last couple of years over Zoom, and I think that wouldn't normally happen before. You'd travel somewhere and you'd do the interviews, but or the songwriting, sorry, or the interviews for that matter. So it's changed the world really, this technology, and I'm really grateful for that too, because I've written some great songs with some great people for the last couple of years, and also met some great people like yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. And now tell me your favorite A1 song of all time. You guys have like a bunch of albums and singles, and but what's your favorite song? Or like your top five? I'm gonna leave it better for you. Your
Oh
top five.
yeah, because it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Wow, top five songs. I think "Caught in the Middle" is up there. I mean, it's one of our bigger hits. "Make It Good" was always my favorite song that I was part of writing with A1.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was the song that everyone thought was going to be the big single when we had written the songs. Caught in the
Mhm.
Middle, in fact, wasn't even going to make the album cut.
Oh God.
And it was one of those things that taught us how the production is so important, and things really changed in the production of a song. So it wasn't until we sort of had the full production ready. I mean, there were a couple of things that happened with those two songs in particular that made Caught in the Middle stand out.
Mhm.
Um, it was when I came up with the guitar riff. It kind of it changed the groove of the song a little bit, and also the bass line that I came up with. That now I've learned as a bass player you wouldn't normally play that because it hardly hits the kick drum at all. But I was thinking more in terms of melodies, and there's just a very lucky groove that happened between the bass line and the really straight drums and the guitar riff that gave that song an identity, and then lifted the melody, to where it belonged, and became such a great recording. And Make It Good, it was the other way around. Like, I had written it with a sitar riff. I mean, in my head, I'd heard it as a George Harrison kind of song, I guess, which is one of my favorite Beatles
Okay.
members. And I even rented a sitar, and I was sitting there learning how to play, and I was playing this. And then the head of the record company back then, he's like, "There's no song is going to be a hit with a sitar in the year 2000," and so he forced that off the record, and I had to re-record it with a Les Paul, and it just wasn't the same after that. It lost a lot of its character and identity, and so it was still a single, and it was the album track, but. I think at that time it was our lowest charting single at 11 in the charts, but it's still my favorite song. Like, as a song, I was really proud of that one. Three other songs that I think are my favorites. Learn to Fly. It's one of my absolute favorite songs. And it was also covered by an Australian artist called Shannon Knoll. And it was a huge hit for him. And that was also a song that was used in a documentary about youth who go through hard times and struggle with um, depression, and so that became an important song for me because I received letters from many different young kids who were struggling, and told me how that song had helped them through a difficult time, and that's the best compliment you can have as a writer, I guess. So that's Learn to Fly. Two more. I think one of my favorite songs, and it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, I guess, but um, we had a song in the original Asterix and Obelix movie called
Okay.
She Doesn't See Me.
Okay.
And it was recorded, I think, with the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and it was originally written by Jean-Jacques Goldman, and we translated it into English lyrics, and it's such a special song. I love that recording. It's so beautiful, orchestral, big, and it's in the end credits of the Asterix film movie. And in fact, it became such a great version of it that Sarah Brightman covered our version of it and recorded for her
Wow.
album.
Mhm.
So that's definitely one of it. And the last one I'll mention is probably one of the newer ones. There's a song called Armor,
Mhm.
which wasn't a big hit, I guess, but it's one of our latest singles. Armor is such a special melody to me, and it's got such a. Um, I mean, I love the lyrics. I just love the whole song and the way it. If that was released back when we were as big as we used to be, I think that would have been a world smash. So check that out if you haven't already. Armor. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. So those are your top five,
Yeah.
and the album from A1 that you are most proud of.
I think "Make It Good," the album, is definitely my proudest,
Okay.
the proudest album, and it was such a different recording process from the previous two albums because we were so busy with, the career sort of took off in such a way that we hardly had time to be in the studio. So we'd write the songs, we'd go in, do the guide vocal and maybe some guitar or piano, and then we'd be on tour, and then we just go into the studio, do the lead vocal, and then we'd be on tour again or doing stuff. So we weren't really so involved with the production. But for the third album, we were put in the studio with an amazing producer who'd produced uh, like Manic Street Preachers and Rolling Stones and um, uh, yeah, he produced for so many amazing art. U2. Um, anyway, so we and he was used to working with bands who played all their own instruments, while some of the other producers we'd work with were more used to working with, um, uh, I guess, boy bands and girl bands, and so they had a lot of they kind of took over with a lot of production. Um, but Mike Hedges, he wanted us to play everything ourselves. So he
Mhm.
gave us, it was like this sandbox of like a toy world for us. We were locked away in this amazing studio in Islington. It was an old church where Jimi Hendrix had recorded his stuff, and we used the mixing console that Dark Side of the Moon was recorded on, by Pink Floyd. And it was just this amazing place, and we were there for months, and really were given. He gave us so much. Um, I guess he gave us the trust to do our thing, and that we could do it, and we grew so much as producers, as writers, as musicians, working with him. I learned so much. um, I remember when we were recording Caught in the Middle, i I must have played the guitar for 3 hours before he started recording, because he was turning the knobs on the guitar amp, and all that. If he had the recording through this old mixing console to get the sound of that through an old 24 track or 48 track, can't remember, tape machine, to get the sound of that into through old compressors, and then into Pro Tools. The digitalized it. They had all the noise through that, and then after 3 hours, like, now we got the sound, and then he walked out and let his engineer record me. So the sound was so important. So I learned so much in that process. I think that's why that was my favorite album. And also we got to be ourselves more, because none of us were really dancers, as some might have noticed. We were musicians, and so we love being able to do what we do, and we're given the they had faith in us that we could do it. And I'm glad also that today most people remember us for Caught in the Middle and songs like that. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm really really pleased with that whole process.
You guys were giving the freedom to be more involved with that, because I have interviewed other people from different bands, and they said that they were completely controlled and that they
Yeah,
didn't have the chance to do more. So it's great to know that you guys were having that privilege to
yeah. And
put things.
also I was given the freedom to produce some of the B-sides,
Hmm.
and I grew so much in that process. So and I've met Mike Hedges uh, not too long ago, and he was laughing how those must have been the most expensive B-sides ever recorded, because we were having this amazing studio, and I didn't know what I was doing, but that was the start for me as a producer, I guess. And we had recorded some really cool songs that I'm still very proud of, like 259 and um, always, and I was tempted by the power of desire. Power of Desire, I guess it's called. Anyway, so it was a it was a great time for me in the studio, and we learned so much.
That's so cool. And then in 2003, you guys decided to take a break because you guys were like exhausted from all this traveling and stuff, and you decided to go solo.
Mhm.
And tell us about your solo career. Your first album, released in 2003, Take Back Yesterday. and you have released four more studio albums. Your latest song, Wonder of the World, yes, released just a few months ago, right?
Yeah, that's pretty new. So "Wonder of the World" is my new single, and that's part of the MGP, which is the Norwegian Eurovision final.
Mhm.
Um, Saturday coming up, and if that wins, fingers crossed, I get to represent Norway in the Eurovision Song Contest.
That would be great.
Um, that would be fun, and yeah, I'm really proud of that. The music video, I just recorded that yesterday, and so that will be out this week coming up. So
Mhm.
excited about that one. But yeah, the my first album. So I moved home to Norway, and so the record company, well, Universal, offered me a record deal, and I uh, I had to record an album quite quickly because they wanted to sort of, I guess, ride the success of A1 a little bit.
Mhm.
And it was a success. I mean, I had a couple of number one records in Norway after that. And the album did very well. So that was the start of my solo career, and it wasn't really a planned departure from A1. A1 never really, we never really broke up or anything. We were just on a break.
Yeah.
It just turned out to be a very long break,
Mhm.
and I was very busy. I recorded a Christmas album in 2006 with the Czech National Symphony Orchestra, which I'm still really proud of, and that started also a tradition of Christmas concerts in Norway. So I tour. I still do 50 Christmas concerts every year. So
Wow.
2 cities a day, to sort of cover the demand, I guess. And so that I'm really, really happy with that. I'm pleased with that. We do church concerts with
Mhm.
Christmas material. And then um, it took a long while to record. I learned the hard way that uh, no one's going to come and sort of um, here's what you do. Here's the plan for here's how we're going to take your talent and make it a big success. You have to be in control of it yourself. You're the one who has to decide, oh, maybe it's time to record a new album. you know and After 2007, I was just so busy touring all the time and so busy doing stuff
Mhm.
all the time. And I also started writing and producing albums for other people, which I loved because I always considered myself, I guess, first and foremost, a songwriter. And
Mhm.
so when and that went well, and I got more and more offers. My own project sort of came second, and so it went 10 years until I released my next album after that. But I was busy the whole time. I was doing stuff like all the time. I've hardly taken time off. But for my own career, it kind of took a backseat while I was helping a lot of other people's careers, which I don't regret. But I'm kind of happy that I'm back into recording now. And also, of course, we did a lot of A1 stuff in between there as well,
Yes.
um, which I'm happy we did. And we had some great tours, and we recorded some great albums. So yeah, and we did MGP with A1 as well in 2010,
Mhm.
which was a lot of fun. We were the runners up, which we were really happy about because we didn't really back then. Eurovision over here still had a lot of stigma attached to it.
Mhm.
It's not a very credible thing to do, but it's a great. I mean, it's a great arena to show off your music because you get such a big audience, and also it's one of the few TV shows left that you can actually just do your next single and be yourself,
Mhm.
and get to show that off. Because now all the TV shows, at least here, are about cooking or driving cars or dancing or doing something that you don't know how to do,
Mhm.
to promote your music. So I mean, it was a great opportunity, and now like more and more famous artists over here, at least, are in it every year. And even if they don't make it to the Eurovision, it doesn't matter. They promoted their single and they can have success with it. So
Yes.
it's more, it's okay now to
Yeah,
do
it's
that.
a great platform.
Yes.
Okay. And from all your albums, your personal albums, what's your favorite?
Ah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, you always think kind of the last stuff you do is the better, is the better, I guess. As albums go, I released an album called "Got to Be," and I think as an English speaking album, I recorded a Norwegian album last year, which I'm
Hmm.
very proud of as well. But as albums goes, I'm still very proud of "Got to Be," and I think that's one of my musically one of my favorite albums that I've done.
It's beautiful.
Commercially, it wasn't the success that some of the other albums that I've done, but that's what happens as well as you grow older. It's not as likely to get into the top 40
Hmm.
because radio stations will ban you just because of your age. you know, because it's so formatted. Now they want to target a certain age group and you know audience that listen to that and that type of music. And also, I don't like to be typecast, so my album has a lot of different genres built into it. So, but musically, it's definitely my best album, I think.
It's a beautiful album. I love every single song from that album, and
Oh,
I
thank
don't know why. Don't ask me why, but I always end up crying listening to "Rain on My Parade."
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's a good song as well. That's
So emotional.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm an emotional kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool. And well, I can talk to you about every single song, but we don't have all that time. Anyway, now you are for this Melody Grand Prix, but you have also written 6 songs that have been part of it, right?
Yeah, I've written quite a few songs for various artists the last few years, and yeah, I've been the runner-up 3 times in Norway and once in Finland.
Wow.
And then finally, I wrote the winning song in 2020, and that's when they canceled Eurovision. So I still need to represent Norway in Eurovision one day, and who knows, maybe it can happen in May this year.
This time, yeah, that would be great. I understand you are the son of a very famous Norwegian artist. Let me see, Stein. I don't know if I'm
That's
pronouncing
right. Yeah.
Ingebrigtsen. It's difficult for me because we don't use a lot of those, you know, GTS together here. So for me,
No.
it's a little difficult. We use a lot of X's. So,
Yeah. Well, it's difficult for Norwegians even. So I.
okay. So, well, you are the son of Stein Ingebrigtsen, and what was it like for you growing up with someone that was so famous and that's still so famous?
Well, quite early on, I was allowed to go on tour with him. Actually, I was 3 years old when I was on my first tour,
Wow.
and I would, they would sort of place me behind the drummer, and I would sit there and I'd look out at my dad performing on stage, and I'd look at the audience, and of course, when you do that, I dreamt about being like my dad, and so it was an important part, I guess, of me wanting to become an artist myself. I was very proud of my dad. I wanted to be, everyone to know that I was his son. um, and yeah, he's also, uh, he definitely is the singer of the family. He has such a unique voice and such a great work ethic. And so everyone in the business here loves him and remembers him. And he's also shown me that how you can have great joy of your music even long after you sort of the height of your career, because he's still doing concert. I think he has 18 concerts in March this year, and he's 76 years old. So that's the great thing about his audience that grew up and were youth when his music was really big. Will
Mm-hmm.
still remember his music as part of their growing up. And I guess it's the same with our fans that grew up with our music. So
Mm-hmm.
we can still play at the 90s festivals and noughties festivals, and people like to reminisce and think back to when they were young. And we love that too, looking back at that time. And my dad still does that at the age of 76 to his audience that grew up with his music, and they never forget because he was important part of their lives growing up. So I think that's just the wonderful power of music. And I've actually done a few gigs with my dad in the last few years. And we jokingly say that between us, we have 7 decades of hits.
Wow. Yeah.
so, so that's pretty cool because yeah. Anyway, and I can see that if you have an older audience, the even if you like my dad, sometimes he will play at retirement homes and or festivals or what do you call them and you can and I remember back from when I actually started playing in retirement homes because I was a classical pianist and the
Okay.
first concerts I would get was get booked at was play in retirement homes and so and when I could see people who were had Alzheimer's or could hardly make any sense but as soon as I played Fir Elise on on the piano they would come to life and they would hum along and they would love it and it's the same thing with my dad's music. I could just see that people's eyes come alive and they just love it when he plays the old songs and you know it brings them back to their youth, I guess, for a moment.
Well, we hope to see you performing when you are 76 with
I hope
A1.
so.
Probably
Hope
not
so
doing
too.
these choreographies, but we hope to see you
Yes.
when you guys are in your 70s. So that would be great.
Hey, who knows, maybe A1 will still be performing
You never
at
know.
festivals when we're in our 70s.
Now, I was about to ask you. You recorded a song with another Norwegian singer, Maria Arredondo. That one I can pronounce correctly because Arredondo is a Latin last name.
Yeah.
Uh, So that song was a huge hit, and I saw recently on your Instagram that you posted some pictures or a video with her. Are you
Yeah.
guys doing something new together, or probably a new version of "In Love with an Angel"?
Well, I've actually I've written quite a few songs for Maria, and I met her when she was like 14 or something. I wrote some of her very first hit singles, and so we've sort of stayed in touch over the years. There were quite a few years where we didn't uh, do any work together, but then 3 years ago, I was invited by her and her husband to sort of to join because me and my friend Gert Ormosen, who's a Norwegian, I guess the runner up in the first Idol here in Norway, and
Hmm.
so him and I we did a Christmas tour together for many years, and then Maria and her husband did a Christmas tour, and then we decided to join forces. So the last 3 years we've been doing Christmas concerts together. Maria again, and it's quite fun because I also produced her husband's first album back in the day, and in fact, I also just remember now I wrote a song for him that was the runner-up in Norwegian MGP in 2008.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of history here, and but Maria is one of those great talents that I think her surname is Chilean. I think it's from Chile. She's got some
Yes,
family,
I
and
I read something about that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
and
it's a Latin surname, so yeah.
so anyway, yeah, she's great, and that song was such a big hit for us here, and it was nominated for Norwegian Grammy, and it's one of those songs that people remember from us, but we hadn't done in so many years, and it's fun to. I did a challenge on TikTok. I've recently joined TikTok, so I'm quite new there, but I realized there's a duet challenge that you can do, and so I sang my part, hoping that someone would sing along with Maria's part. So that was fun.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. I didn't know that. So, uh, my next question was, let me. I just got confused because someone here was just asking if you have worked or would like to work with other Norwegian artists like Marion Raven, Lynn Marlin, Aurora, Alexander Rybak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But I know Marion Raven because she was in M2M, and M2M was huge here in Mexico, with Marit Larsen. So those two are great. Have you worked with them?
Well, I've not worked with M2M. I've toured with I guess both of them at some point, different road shows and stuff. But Marion and I are both the Norwegian voices in the Disney cartoon Tangled.
Oh
We have
yes,
the
I.
Norwegian voices. So I'm
Mhm.
Flynn Rider and she is Rapunzel.
Oh,
So, and also that became a series. So we've done 3 seasons of Tangled, the series. So we've done a lot of together, and we're also in a couple of other movies. I think we're in Peter Rabbit together. I do a lot of voiceover acting.
I read.
Um, yeah, so I'm Benjamin Bunny in Norway, and and various different characters. So, but yeah, that's I guess that's the extent of my collaboration with Mariam.
Okay, well there you go. And if you have worked with those others that I mentioned, Lynn Marlin.
Alexander Rybak, actually, who is one of the biggest successes of Eurovision from Norway ever,
Hmm.
he actually plays on one of my singles called Muitemu, which is in Norway we have native Norwegians, like I guess you have native like Native Americans, you have Native Norwegians up north in Norway with a different language and a different culture, and so there was a television program here where artists learn how to yoik, which is their way of singing, and so for that single, Alexander actually plays on my single, so that was pretty cool. And
Oh,
yeah, I've met him in a number of occasions. He's a legend, obviously. Yeah.
there you go. And that was Cesar from Brazil. So we have people from Brazil here.
Oh, cool, cool.
That's
Yeah.
great. What was it like for you, the big reunion? Were you guys on the first or the second season? I don't recall that.
We, if I remember correctly, I think we turned down the first season because we didn't know what it was, and that was a big mistake because that was the big season. But we were on the second season, but it was still fun, and we got to tour with 3T, which we became really good buddies with, and
Hmm.
yeah, we had a really good time. Eternal was on that show as well, and I think that was one of my favorite songs. I want to
Girl,
be the only one to. Yeah,
Girl
yeah.
Thing was that season too, if I don't
Yes, that's right. They were part of it as well.
recall.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love that show. I mean, I didn't see it here in Mexico because it wasn't aired, but I the episodes were uploaded on YouTube, and I was so excited to see all those groups together. And I bet the experience was great because after all these years, you guys got to be together with other great artists from the late '90s, early 2000s, and you then toured with all the boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. So with all the boy bands of the tour, and yeah, we were better friends now than back in the day because I guess back in the day it was a bit of rivalry, but now it's all just, hey,
Hmm.
great to see you, So it was a fun tour, and not so much hard work, just a whole lot of fun. And it was before Corona as well, so we could actually hang out in the bar after.
That's cool. I was about to ask you about the rivalries because when you guys were on top of your career, there were other boy bands like Five, Westlife, Blue, a lot of boy bands that were like super huge as you guys were. How did you take all those comparisons and how did you work with that?
We didn't really think about it that much, to be honest. We were very focused on our own thing and what we were doing, and we were working so hard as well. You're touring so much, and you're just always on the road. And we worked 7 days a week, maybe 16-hour days,
Hmm.
uh, and so we didn't really have time to think much about. We didn't really think much about what we even were achieving, what we'd done until afterwards,
Hmm.
because we were just always so busy going to the next thing, and so I guess some rivalry was there, but I can't remember much of it.
Okay, so you were like mostly enjoying the moment of what you guys were doing. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I have talked to other girls that were part of girl bands, and not a lot of boys from boy bands like you, uh, and they tell me that there's always, like fights between the girls. How is it with the guys? I mean, you guys were together like 24/7. What was like the relationship with you guys? I mean, were you guys uh, fighting a lot, or did you always get along? How's the
Well, of
relationship?
course, you're like brothers, and so you have arguments, and you have times where you hate each other's guts, and then you love each other anyway. So, but and that happened with us as well. And there are times where we didn't get along, but I think it's not like some of the other bands. I heard, like Five. I know they had physical fights with each other, and we never had that. And so I think um, it was just the regular, you know, brothers kind of brotherly love quarrels that we had. It wasn't very dramatic.
So, and you guys are still like together, like brothers nowadays.
Yeah, and Paul's back in the band, and that's great as well. So we still argue every now and then. We have different, it's mainly about the creative stuff, to be honest, because we're very different creatively, very different tastes in music even. So it's like trying to agree on something is a bit of a struggle. But when we do agree on something, because we're so different, chances are we're gonna, reach a pretty big audience. Because if we agree on something, it's gonna be a broad kind of thing, and I think that's one of our strengths as a writing team as well, that we
Mhm.
are so different.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great to see that you guys are still getting along together. So I've heard of others that can't stand seeing each other. So that's great.
Yeah,
You guys get
yeah.
along.
I
No,
guess
over.
there are days when we don't want to see each other as well, but most of the time we enjoy each other's company.
Oh, that's great. Well, I always ask these questions to my guests, and I'd like to know who's your favorite female singer?
I think my all-time favorite female singer is Whitney Houston.
Okay.
To me, that was just she had the most unique, wonderful voice, and yeah, such a great, great singer. Such a sad loss for the entire world when she passed away.
Yes. So sad, and she was so talented. And your favorite male singer?
Well, I think it's Bruce Springsteen. He's been my hero since I was growing up, and both as a songwriter and as an artist, he's my biggest idol, I guess.
Okay. And your favorite girl band?
Girl band. Ooh, that's a tough one. I have to be honest and say I didn't listen much to girl bands growing up. Uh, I guess Destiny's Child would probably be my favorite.
Mhm.
We had the pleasure of meeting them once, and they were lovely as can be, and such talented singers, all of them. So many great songs.
Okay, Destiny's Child. And your favorite boy band, not A1?
Ooh, that's a tricky one as well. I guess Take That is probably the band that we look the most up to
Mm-hmm.
as a boy band.
Mm-hmm.
And also they've shown that they can still create great hits um, as they grew up and became adults.
They're still together. I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
they're still touring, selling a bunch of tickets. Yeah, so they're really big in the UK still.
Oh, yes, I am. They were huge here too. So
Yeah.
I know about them. Now, this is a tricky question because a lot of my guests sometimes tell me they hate me because of doing this to you. That you are dropped in an island all by yourself, and you can only take five of your favorite albums with you. Which ones would you take?
Five CDs, like albums.
Like your favorite five albums. Five.
Okay, five albums. Um,
I know it's a tricky one.
that's a tricky one. It's funny how as you grow older, you tend to still enjoy listening to the albums you loved growing up. And so one of my favorite albums was Listen Without Prejudice, George Michael,
Okay.
which is a really, really great album with Freedom 90 and a lot of great songs on it. I would take Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen, with
Mm-hmm.
me. I would take Bad, the Michael Jackson album
Mm-hmm.
that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I would take one of my dad's albums. There's his album called Stein Ingebrigtsen Band. It's my favorite. And then for the fifth album, maybe Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That wasn't that hard for you because some of my guests take like a lot of time to decide. So you were quick. That's great.
Yeah, it was the first ones that came to mind. That's usually the correct ones.
Okay. Now moving to the fan questions, we
Yeah.
have uh, well, we have Maya and Cesar from Brazil, from Singapore. Uh, what's your favorite song on A1 most recent? I think that she means your most recent A1 songs. What's your favorite?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, Armor earlier, which I really like. Um, it's a tough one. I think maybe on the rediscovered albums, I think that whole album also would have deserved to do a lot better. Um, it's a really good album, some great songs on there. Um, I think "Trust Me" is a really fun song that I really love that Mark wrote. It's such a feel good, happy, sing along type of song. So I'd say "Trust Me."
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe when I saw Christian was going to be on the show. Oh, same as me, darling. So thanks, Maya. um, you have always been inspiring and creative. I If I Can't Have You is one of my favorites. It deserved a music video.
Yeah, that's a good song. Really good song. I enjoy that.
I was about to ask you that. I forgot. What was your favorite A1 video?
Ooh. So I have different answers to different. My favorite one to film was "Summertime of Our Lives"
Okay. Hmm.
because we were swimming. We were in the Bahamas swimming with dolphins in the open ocean, which is pretty mind blowing experience in itself.
Hmm.
But during the filming on the first day, I got such sunburned lips. So I have such red, crazy lips throughout in that music video. I hate myself in the video, so I don't like watching it. Um, and my favorite video to watch is probably "Same Old Brand New You." It's
Okay.
such a cool looking video. And it was actually filmed. It was one of my least favorites to film because it was made out to look like it was in Arizona or somewhere hot,
Hmm.
but it was actually filmed in South England somewhere, and it was freezing cold.
Oh.
And we're dancing in the rain. So we'd hired a fire truck to shoot like water up, so it looked like it was raining, and then we were sort of stomping in the rain, and it was so freezing cold, and we had to do it over and over again in the cold, in the rain. So we all got pretty sick after that, but it looks really cool.
But you're used to the cold. You live in Norway.
Yeah, but we're also used to dressing with super underwear and wool and many layers of clothing so that we don't freeze.
Okay. Just Haida Ibrahim asked just a little cheeky question. What song would you sing to Martine on Valentine's Day tomorrow? I'm guessing
Ooh,
she's
oh,
your
that's an
girl.
easy one. That's an easy one because it would have to be "Wonder of the World" because I actually wrote that for Martine.
Oh, that's good. She's
Yes,
your girlfriend, your wife?
she's my fiance.
Oh, Beyonce. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Mm,
not so much into
yeah.
your personal lives. Um, would you like to make it to Eurovision? Well, he just said that. That he's about to
Fingers
win.
crossed.
We hope. We hope. Um, um, which big artist would you like to write a song for?
Hmm. Wow. I think Dua Lipa is really cool. I mean,
Yes.
and done some great songs lately. You know, with Elton John, one of my all-time favorites as well. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay. And what do you think about current pop music?
I think there's a lot of great current pop music, and it goes so fast these days. It's all about the songs, and a lot of artists don't have the time to sort of develop. But I do love the sound of everything that's coming out. Everything is sounding so cool, and like so much has happened in the last 10, 15 years when it comes to um, production gear and DAWs and soft synths and so everything. I mean, it's I love how everything is sounding at the moment, especially pop stuff like Dua Lipa, which I was mentioning. It just sounds really cool, um, and I love it when you get the mix of the new with the old, like Bruno Mars. You know how um, he has that 70s flavor, but with the sound of the 2020s. And yeah, there's a lot of great sounding music out there. There's almost too much to choose between.
Yes.
So it's hard to sort of cut through everything and be discovered as something new. But I think it's great. There's never been so much to choose between. It's so readily available to everyone as there is right now.
Oh, okay. Does A1 has any music video that was canceled that you
Oh,
guys
that,
it was never
that we had
released,
planned. I
or
think
that
there's
was never released? I don't know.
Well, there's only one that I can think of, and that was Learn to Fly. And in fact, I'm very sad about that one because we planned on making a Top Gun kind of music video, and we'd had plans, I think, in South Africa with the Air Force down there, and everything was planned out. I think even plane tickets were booked, and we're gonna go and do a Top Gun version of Learn to Fly.
Oh, okay.
And that was canceled last minute because of the band taking the break. And yeah, I always wonder what that would look like.
That would be great to know. When are you going to do a UK solo tour?
Ooh, I don't know if I'll be doing a UK solo tour anytime soon. Well, if a lot of people in the UK stream Wonder of the World, it would help. But there will definitely be an A1 tour in the UK soon, and we're excited about that. And who knows if Wonder of the World is a Eurovision entry, then maybe I'll do that there and do a little solo number in the A1 tour.
That would be awesome. I Let's hope. Let's hope you win. Would love to see you performing for the Eurovision. And well, thank you guys for your questions, for being there. And thank you, Christian, for being part of this. I cannot tell you how thankful I am to you for being here, for saying yes. I hope you had a nice time. Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you
this
so much.
all the way from Oslo and Mexico City. So this is great.
Well, it's great to be in Mexico. I can't wait to go back to Mexico. Our very first music video, Be the First to Believe, was filmed in Mexico. And so that's where it all started for us in many ways. And I used to say that if there's one place I want to go back and have a holiday, it would be Puerto Vallarta. It's a great place, and I'd love to discover more of Mexico. So hopefully, maybe I'll do a solo tour there one day. That would certainly be a dream come true.
I would be so excited. I mean, let's hope to see you here someday, and you are more than welcome to come to Mexico. We are always greeting everybody, and we're like such happy people. So it's so different because you guys are like all the way from the north, and we're all the way from like we are a neighboring country to the U.S., and it's so different. So, but I love seeing people from all over the world here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, and thank you so much for your questions, and thank you to everyone who watched and all your questions. I'm very grateful that you had me on your show. And yeah, please check out Wonder of the World and the music video that's coming out on Friday. That would be exciting. So if you want to follow me on my YouTube channel, um, and TikTok or wherever you can find me, that'd be great. I'd love to have more followers from around the world, and then you can see all the upcoming news. So thank you.
Thank you, Christian. And thanks, everybody. I hope to see you soon with more interviews coming. And well, take care, everybody, and have a happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you. You too. Take care.
Well, take care. Bye.
Bye.